It's actually changed, and since the start of this year. I'm sure we're going to talk about the recent kind of acquisition for the company that I previously worked for, that I now work for. But today, as we are, the title's Group Director for Financial Planning. So I sit on a board of directors, of which I'm one of four. My job really is to provide insight, as you know, to all things kind of financial planning. Of course, yes, the wealth managers here, financial planners, are the ones that take a lot of the the praise and get the fancy job title. But there is a lot of divisions behind the scenes, a lot of support, departments, resources, etc. My job's less to deal with them and more to deal with the financial planners. So on a day-to-day, I suppose it would be contact with the regional managers, of which I previously was in Switzerland. So we've got regional managers in place in all of the offices that we've got around the world. And my job really is certainly more just to provide guidance to them, support, a bit of training here and there, development. We're of a certain size now where I can't really be too involved individually with the amount of advisors we've got. So there's got to be an element of me working more with the team leaders and financial regional managers, and providing guidance to them really. Previously to that, I was a regional manager. I was one of those regional managers of Switzerland, so I was more hands-on with the individual advisors in that area. So yeah, there's been a bit of change. Typically, I would be traveling a lot more, of course, getting around the offices and putting my face in, which I'm looking forward to being able to do. But again, like we're saying, it's more predominantly behind the screen at the moment. Geneva. So just next to Geneva Airport, our offices are in a business centre. Just next to the airport, a stone throw from the airport. So it's good for the commuting client, and it's good for the guys that are tripping back in and out of the UK to be with their families. So yeah, it's a convenient spot.
Not so much over the last 12 months, though, yeah.
No, I've been more working from home. We've all had to accustomize ourselves to working back behind the screen a bit like this. But it's been a tricky period. But I've been quite impressed by how the company as a whole, and particularly my guys at the time at Geneva, we were pretty seamless in our transition to working from behind the desk and what is typically a very social job, meeting clients and going out and about to different businesses and coffee shops and lunches. It all changed very quickly. But yeah, listen, like all industries, we've had to adapt, and it's been fine. Hopefully it's coming to an end soon.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because as somebody who travels, working on a title such as international investment, we do quite a lot of travel, or we have done in the past. But the way that we've been able to adapt and doing things like this would have been a face-to-face interview with me, with carrying a camera and setting it up and us having the chat that way, with lights as well and microphone on you. I think the world has adapted and it's changed. How much do you think it's changed and will stay the same as a result of COVID in your role? Do you think your role will become more of a hybrid role? You'll do lots of this sort of stuff with clients still, or do you think you'll just go back to normal?
It's a good question. I think it will change. Obviously, I can really only speak for my sector really that I'm in. I think there'll be a lot of businesses out there that will look at productivity and how people have adapted to working from home. Certainly I can only speak for Skybound, but productivity after the initial kind of dip, when clients were having to get adjusting to homeschooling and all that, it's been pretty fine. It's been pretty consistent. I think there will be businesses that will look at the need for, particularly in places like Geneva and Dubai and America where we are. I think they're probably looking at their P&L and looking at that fixed cost of rents and office space, whether or not there's a need for X amount of manned offices, perhaps not. So I think from our company, I would be more than comfortable having people that have, with young families, for example, that are wanting to, as you say, kind of come back on a more hybrid role, working from home and getting on with it, really. I think the client appetite will have changed, hopefully. People are more comfortable having dialogue with financial advisors or wealth managers, divulging information, which, let's be honest, is personal. That was typically something that was easier to do, in person, because you had that human interaction and contact. There's a trust element there. But I think, everyone's had to adapt, and I think it will probably change how most businesses, certainly in our sector, work, moving forward. A big part for me, the attraction for me, was working with GWM Guardian at the time was the ability to travel. Me graduating from a business school in Scotland, Glasgow, pretty much, in your penultimate year, so between your kind of degree year and your honours year, you're expected to go out and get some work experience. So my entry to the market was different, rather than 95%, which kind of went down the route of going to one of the big four, KPMG, Deloitte, PwC, etc. My brother-in-law at the time was working for the company, and he'd said, look, how do you feel about, we're looking at getting an intern over, the first intern in the company's 20 odd year history. It's an avenue the company want to go down. And I thought, you know what, it's a bit of a risk. It's not a company that everyone will know on the CV, whereas obviously Deloitte, which is a company I was quite far down the line on the assessment centre with, you do know it's a blue chip company. So yeah, I took that opportunity, went over and done my 3 months internship, and come back, finish my degree, and again had that option: do I travel, or do I just play it safe and go down the route of what the majority of people, assuming obviously I got the position. And it was that, as you mentioned, Gary, it was the ability to travel. I didn't want to do a gap year. I don't think my parents would allow me to do a gap year. So it was very much, I want to work, but I also want to travel. And it was looking at the company's locations and jurisdictions. And let's be honest, they're nice spots. I started in Frankfurt at the time, but I had the option of, 5 or 6 different places. And it was a big appeal to me that, and since I've pretty much, apart from America, I've pretty much worked in all of those jurisdictions, and they're nice spots. So for us, from a recruitment perspective, it's a big thing, but it's a difficult thing. It's particularly at the age that I done it. It is a big move. It's a bold, brave move to just pack up your life, up sticks and start in Germany, Dubai, Switzerland, wherever it may be. So it's not all upside. You do get your moments. You do get your moments of being homesick. You miss a lot. I missed a lot of my young nephews and whatnot growing up, and weddings and funerals and everything else that goes with it. So, but yeah, listen, it's a decision that I look back on with great fondness. It's why I am where I am, and it's something I would encourage all candidates, young or older, to explore, because it's a great experience. Yeah, listen, I think before we go on to talk about where the company is now, I think it's really important, to mention that, Guardian GWM was a big part of my development personally. Skybound and GWM, started speaking to each other on the basis that Skybound Capital, expressed an interest in the GWM group off the back of them doing a lot of things right, personnel, staff, offices, licenses in multiple jurisdictions. Typical, licenses that aren't easy to acquire, which we had, a big client bank of in excess of $1 billion US, etc. So we were a very obvious, attraction to a company like Skybound Capital that were looking to get into the wealth management sector. So I think it's important to mention that. That being said, we are under new ownership now, and it's been extremely impressive. I've been personally really impressed. This is not a rebranding exercise. This is not a marketing exercise. This is, we are trying to change the way that we do things already. We've been we've received a lot of changes, a lot of financial backing. You know, we've opened offices in different places in a year, typically in 2020, which was, you know, very, very challenging. We opened, our Skybound Academy in London. A second office in the UK in Sheffield. Zug expansion in Switzerland, and a second office also over in the States in Nevada to add to our Miami office. So it's been refreshing. There's been a lot of new ideas brought on. Obviously, the board's got a different makeup to it now as well. There's been significant changes, significant investment to both our client proposition and also our employee proposition. The one thing that I've noticed personally as an employee of Skybound Wealth Management is their mantra from the beginning has always been becoming the employee of choice in the sector which we operate, and that's been evident from day one, really. We are looking at raising the industry benchmark in the space that we operate, and you can already see changes in place that are not only assisting that and enhancing the employee proposition for existing and new or future candidates, but also the upgrades to the client proposition as well has been quite significant. That's a question really for individual clients, I suppose. Feedback, really from clients, that I've been personally dealing with, as in my own capacity, has been fine. It's not been about that. It's clients at the end of the day look for value. We all do as clients. When you go and buy a house, you look for value from your real estate agent. When you go and open a bank account, you want value from that, and that's what it's all about. The bottom line is providing value. What I feel that Skybound have been in a position to do is expand a lot of the key areas that has a direct impact to clients. So what do I mean by that? I mean, our centralized investment proposition, for example. We are, pretty much in a position now that division has grown, 2, 3, 4, 5-fold incrementally over the last 4 or 5 quarters since Skybound, took over. We are in a position to change the way that we, the way that we are remunerated from the services that we provide to clients. I think this will be a big shift in the coming years, the recent years to follow, and really being able to embrace a more transparent and fee-based service, and coming away from the legacy indemnified commissions and all this kind of stuff. As much as it's great saying that, companies like ourselves and competitors, you need cash flow for that, because in order to work and operate like that, you have to be able to have the cash flow in place to perhaps charge less upfront, but have more of a continue ongoing service fee that you can charge your clients. And we've been doing that already, in fairness, but we will continue to work like that. Our centralized investment proposition now, for example, only deals in low cost, non-trail paying funds. So we don't get anything back from any of the fund managers we get. We operate differently, and clients therefore directly benefit from having a lower cost portfolio, which in theory transfers, typically to higher profit. So things like that and upgrades like that, ultimately are what a client looks at, whether it's GWM, Skybound Wealth Management. The relationships have been maintained. Pretty much all of the staff has been retained, certainly on an advisory level. So there's been that continuity of advisor, but just with behind the scenes having, slightly bigger and better services available. Property division that we've now got, that's been really well received in the market, which we've been able to put a lot of funding behind, opening different offices in different areas, strategic ops, etc. So so far it's been very well received by clients, kind of old and new.
That's a good answer. I like I was just about to say this deal kind of went through right in the middle of a global pandemic, right in the middle of the BOD 49 changes coming in the United Arab Emirates. What a time to be getting into that industry. But also, I think it's I think you made an interesting point there about the way that advisors are remunerated. This isn't just Guardian; it's across the board. There is a real there has been a real sort of shift. How's that kind of and you said that people have stayed on board. It happened in the UK, obviously. You know this. You look back at history with the RDR stuff, and happened in the UK. And 5 years, 10 years down the line, the feedback from the advisory community is now that they're earning more than they earned when it was under the old commission structure. Clients are happier, and you know, everything seems to be reasonably rosy on that front. How is it looking internationally? You know, are you finding that that people are able to earn the same amount of, you know, the same sort of money, and the clients are happy? How's it all working under this Pod 49 setup in Dubai and elsewhere?
I think the key word that it comes back to is transparency. I think there's much more transparency, and that's been driven quite rightly so by the regulators, you know, and the, you know, various jurisdictions. We are a multi-jurisdictional regulated company, so you know, our compliance division are pretty much solely responsible for keeping up to date. You know, we were on a training session again with the Swiss regulator here, making changes. Equally, it happens over in the UAE, where we have both regulations in place. So we have to constantly keep up to date with the different regulations in the different territories. So that is a challenge, but one that we've got the capacity to manage. So the transparency in how clients are remunerating their advisory company is definitely there, and I think that's only a good thing. I think it's here to stay, and I think those territories that haven't yet embraced it ought to get in line, because I think it's not going to go anywhere. So far as how's it been embraced, to be honest, I think internally it's been embraced fine. What it does is, I think it encourages the right type of people. It encourages people that aren't in this industry to make a quick buck. You know, get rich quick and you know, fly into Dubai, spend 2 years and go back to the UK, you know, to clear debts or whatever it may have been. It encourages people that are here to do the job right and are here for the long term. I think it comes back to the kind of tagline of wanting to be the employer of choice. I'm a great believer in the most successful advisors that what made me the most successful advisor, and what I try and get, what I try and make available to the advisors in the business now, is just providing them with the resources to allow them to go and do the job as easy as possible. So what does that encompass? It encompasses providing business development. Okay, yes, people will go out, they'll bring clients on via networking, down the pub, you know, down the beach club, which way they can. Referrals, of course, but business development's got to start from somewhere. And you know, we have just developed an academy designed really to provide or to attract the cream of the crop from up and down the UK, to give them an opportunity to get into the market. And a part of that is business development. We've got data center, which basically generates, you know, leads, which suit a sensible profile for what we're looking to achieve. We've got marketing, which provide, you know, web lead campaigns, inbound leads, etc. A centralized investment proposition, which really, again, takes that responsibility away from the advisor. I don't know what your situation was when you were in the industry, Gary, but certainly, you know, it's not the job of an IFA at Skybound to be cherry picking funds for a client's pension. Absolutely not. They're not necessarily qualified to do that. Therefore, we employ and put a lot of money and resources behind that centralized investment opportunity, meaning that, you know, we can plug in a range of model portfolios to different structures, whether it be pension, savings, ISAs, whatever it may be. You know, so you know, we try and provide, you know, obviously office space, regulated licenses to allow people to do the job in a regulated capacity, and I think support as well. You know, I've had a lot of support in my journey throughout my progression from pretty much the guy that was making coffee for the guy that made the tea, and now sit on the board of directors. I think when I'm interviewing anybody, irrespective of their age or what their background is. I think the company stands for, there's a true theme of meritocracy across the board. I've moved up through the ranks because I've been good enough and I've had the support in order to develop my career. Qualifications have been bought and paid for, and the support to get qualified in the industry. And I think that's a key thing. People want to get ahead, they want to rise up through the ranks in the industry. And I think you're talking to somebody that's a true example of that. And not just me, but across the board. We've got middle management and senior management across all jurisdictions and all departments. So I think that's a real recruitment coup for us, that, if you're good enough, you're qualified enough, you're old enough. And, we pride ourselves in promoting from within. And I think for people that are starting off in the industry at a fairly junior or inexperienced level, in 10 years' time, you could be sitting, as a board director or wherever you want your career to take you. Great.
What do you do for fun? Have you got a family? What's it like living in Geneva? What do you do outside of work?
Yeah, life's good. I must admit, I've got no complaints. I'm blessed to live in a very, very nice part of the world. There's not a lot to say wrong, other than the cost of a cup of coffee or a pint of beer, which is all relative. So no, I've been very lucky. I've put myself into positions. I've worked hard. I think, that's, you don't get a promotion in any walk of life unless you're good at what you do. So I've always made it my mission to be the best, whether that's paraplanning, administrator, advisor, manager, director. I've always really worked hard in order to get to where I've wanted to be. I think that's important to say that, there's been maybe a little bit of luck, but there's been a lot of hard work, a lot of travel and a lot of commitment to that. Now, for the first time, really settled, just bought my first, property in any of the areas where I've actually worked. So I'm here, for the long term. So far as how do I relax, enjoy my sport, and I've got a fiance, and a young pup. No kids as of yet, which is hopefully in the near future. Once I eventually managed to get married, that's been postponed twice due to COVID. So life's good. Enjoy the outdoor life that Switzerland offers, and the fresh air. Stark contrast to that of where I previously worked in Saudi Arabia. And just enjoy the team that I have, the friends that I've got, and so very, very fortunate. So no complaints from my side.
What a really nice interview. Peter, congratulations. Well done.